Thank you, Group Captain Girish Tantale, for a very, very comprehensive and a very interesting talk, and also outlining the way forward for the Indian Air Force. I'm sure there will be a lot of comments from the audience on that. So, with your permission, we take about 10 minutes for questions, sir. Thank you. Right, gentlemen, without any further wasting any time, any questions, any queries, comments, please.
Again, Manish Kumar Jha, very interesting group captain. The debate is very full of fervor here on 5th and Fighter Jet. But you mentioned initially a lot on the stealth aspect, keeping the American F-35 and F-22, it's not a stealth, but F-35 at the focus point, basically. Back to the Chinese development, then you focus on the geometry aspect, the stealth aspect, and then the weapon is more important. Ultimately, you say the kill mission is more important, right? And third would be the speed, keeping in the priority which our AMCAR program is there, and say we are marching towards Tejas to say some sort of these two key programs. How do you prioritize keeping our adversary and our aerospace in our mind, not looking at the American development and their industry, but our focus on, do we prioritize the big aircraft with the weapon, or we focus on the speed, or we focus on the stealth because all about the geometry will cost more? How do you look at our development program, if we have to see and define the aerospace superiority? Thank you.
Quick answer. Thank you for your question. As I said earlier in my talk, the 5th and 6th generation fighter is amalgamation of all technologies. So you cannot prioritize any technology per se. It will not work. It is not designed to work. So missiles, weapons, we have not even spoken about fuel. I mean, if I'm talking about high-end engines, there may be a requirement to go over and above JP8 fuel configuration. Let us look at World War II when Germans had to go to synthetic. So today you cannot pinpoint that this is the only area that I need to put my finger on and I want this on priority. In fact, today what is required is somebody looking into 6G communication, somebody looking into the 7th gen aircraft also parallelly. And this is the reason why the Chinese have been able to develop everything at such a fast pace. This is what comprehensive national power is to do about. Because when you have a Tatra chassis reverse engineered, there is nobody waiting for a hydraulic jack for want of erecting the TEL. It is every industry now being driven centrally, all capabilities coming together and straight away you operationalize the platform. Does that answer your question?
Rear Admiral Deepak Bansal, Professor of Practice at IIT Madras. I just had a comment for Wing Commander Achu. You talked about ISAT, you talked about that, the way forward is to collaborate with the academia and industry. I completely agree with you. But I think the biggest bottleneck there is awareness on part of serving officers. Not because that we are not aware, but because we come to know of academia or industry much later in our lives, and it is too late and too little. This is one part. Now, just to amplify my point is, like for example, 3D printing. You made a mention of 3D printing as well. Well, at IIT Madras, you would have all seen Agni Cool rocket motor being launched. That was 3D printed. All right. We saw during the pandemic, we had this black fungus in our, the dentures. So they were reprinted as per the requirement of the patient. We are having ultra-light wheelchairs, fully automated, being 3D printed. So what I meant to say is that perhaps DG, CAPS and the chair could think of that, why don't we pick up specific topics per se and bring awareness like that? Like for example, we have a limitation of about 300 millimeters as a test piece to be 3D printed. Perhaps, and those machines are being also researched upon by the professors, the material department, or material science department of IIT Madras. So somehow I would like to leave this thought with the panel and with the officers that somehow we must find a method by which we are able to bring awareness to the serving community of what great work is being done by the academia or the MSMEs, like you said so. What are your thoughts on this? How do we go about doing it?
Sir, to answer your question, very correctly said, and I would like to, because for the research of this paper, I had interacted with the Director of Aerospace Design, which is organization in Indian Air Force which is looking after for this innovation under the scheme of IDEX. The Navy has got one organization, the Army has got one organization. So as you correctly said, and as I understand, sir, the awareness was not there. Now we have started on it. But the problem is that we have limited by the scale. And as you correctly said, the awareness is required. For example, as you correctly said, the rocket engine has been, an operational rocket engine has been done through 3D printing. All hearing aids are mandated to be done by 3D printing. So it is now, the industry has got the technology, it is the responsibility lies on us as subdomain experts to tell them this is our requirement, and I think the technology would be facilitated for us. So, but what I have researched and I found out is that we have slightly started late. I think the Navy has started initially, Air Force and Army under the IDEX fund has started, but presently we are making good progress. So as we said, and as I suggested, sir, with increased funding, with increased budgeting, we will be able to directly interact as the core technology is being developed. For example, let's assume 3D printing we've slightly behind, but now in quantum communication or technology which are now being developed, if we tie up or basically interact with them, I think the awareness would be available with the service. We will be able to give them what is required, and I think we'll be able to achieve technology development and products directly through this thing. And as I correctly said, sir, the awareness of this technology and the requirements for us should be projected by the service, is what I understand.
So, just to add on, sir, already the services are interacting more with the industry as well as the academia. And also, sir, as far as our think tank is concerned, we are planning that in the subsequent seminars, we also get the industry and the academia and have meetings with them based on certain specific topics and certain specific challenges, which shall be happening from the next seminar onwards. That is also the plan.
Sir, Group Captain Narang from IDSA. This comes, like, I just want to understand the 6th generation technologies. DEW is, I don't think it is in the near horizon, if I look at it correctly, to be fitted on an aircraft. Rest of the 6th generation technologies, can't they be, integrated or developed by the time AMCA comes up? Because it seems more like a narrative than the technological gap between 5th and 6th than the actual capabilities. What's your view on that?
Thank you for your question. As I understand, you mean to say that rather than waiting for one technology, we move on and start developing the others to reach the 6th generation?
No, what I'm saying is there are some technologies you can, there are in the very close vicinity, you can really reach them. The so-called 6th generation technology, and there's not much difference between 5th and 6th. And some are hyped up to bring out the 6th generation element. So in my view, there's not much of a gap between the current 5th and the 6th generation. And some technologies which are nowhere near the horizon, we are already assuming they will come in the time frame we are seeking especially with the Chinese aircraft. And they are assumption rather than they are the reality.
No, absolutely right, because that is what has ruffled all feathers, because it's the first time that the 6th generation has been seen in the West. The first time that actually the Chinese have overtaken the West on this regard. And we really do not know, it's only an assumption that the DW would be there. But coming to, as I said, the 6th generation aircraft also what they have flown doesn't appear to be 6 to me. There are 3 key aspects missing. The first and foremost is the engine. The second is all aspects stealth. And this is something that we really need to think about, because stealth is only for particular bands. So I will need to accept the low observable part of a platform to go during conflict. That has happened, we have seen it in Kosovo, what happened. The third is autonomy. The MUMTI part has already been taken by 4.5 and 5th gen. Now, when I talk about autonomy, there was one bullet on my slide of no comm ops. We are not talking about autonomous flying or unmanned flying. What I'm trying to talk about is autonomy of mission. Where today, these platforms are too heavily dependent on communications. But communication will be the first thing to be knocked out during a campaign. So in my entire cycle from planning of a mission to debriefing after he comes back, how much autonomy can I give him for mission accomplishment? And to my mind, the sixth generation with its collaborative combat aircraft would be able to achieve, and that is the aim. The CCA has been put into the sixth gen probably for this regard, that it has a lot of mission autonomy per se. Answers your question?
Yes, sir.
Why I'm saying is because, this panel has been extremely good. I mean, all three speakers have really done a lot of research, I would say, and something new. So just another comment I would to seek from you is this: we have talked about ISAT. We also know that India is one of the largest GCC hubs, Global Capability Centers. In fact, the largest, let me say. But that GCC set up by the foreigners is being used for knowledge drain, and to take this startup drain is happening. See, we are trying to probably bridge the gap with foreigners. We are talking about what is happening abroad. I think there has to be a methodology, some modus operandi has to be put in place quickly, wherein we are able to connect the dots within our own country. And that I'm telling you, the more I'm seeing, I mean, I was guilty of the same offense till the time I was in uniform. But of late, ever since I've stepped out, I realized that, my eyes pop out with wonder. So I think we need to devise some methodology wherein, the knowledge levels at the operator's level, for example, he would be able to say exactly what he wants, but I'm sure he does not meet much industry for various reasons. So maybe some little thought should be gone on that as well.
So what you're saying is, it is knowledge drain from both perspectives, if you see. In fact, a lot of our programs have benefited from Indians going abroad to that regard. And coming to the second point of the industry, we are doing well. We are not integrated. Like you gave an example of 3D printing, IIT Madras has got a separate lab of extraterrestrial materials. And they have made metal foams. These metal foam is going to be put in the Gaganyaan mission. You see, the metal foam can be utilized in fuel tanks also, if I can see. So, but have we integrated to that level? And not only integration, can we reach within 5 to 10 years what the IF requires, is the point. The second point is, let us say people are gung-ho about what NVIDIA has been doing. Last week they revealed a chip which has got slated speed of 1.4 exaflops. That is some 10 to the power 18, I think, operations per second, calculations that this semiconductor can do. We also have experts in semiconductor technology. The CERN in Geneva, the Large Hadron Collider, one of the detectors, semiconductor detectors have been developed and manufactured in India. So it is a matter of funding, choosing the right people and integrating them to suit the requirement of the IF. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Marshal Bhatia.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, allow me to take this opportunity to really appreciate outstanding presentations by all three speakers. It was really superlative. The observation that I want to make here is that at the juncture that we are right now, in terms of our own indigenous effort to produce, let's say, the next generation aircraft, don't you think we should seriously think in terms of moving directly towards sixth generation capabilities, and in the meantime, import some of these fifth generation aircraft in limited quantities. But what I'm talking about is our AMCA program, for example, should actually keep in mind that while we are going and doing this, that we should move directly towards sixth generation capabilities so that we are not left behind too much in the future. I'd like your comments on that.
Yeah. After you.
Thank you so much, sir. So fifth generation is essential for the Indian industry per se. If I look at the F-35, 60% of the components we derive from the F-16 initially. And if I look at the development cost of the F-22 beginning with $70 billion, going into only the R&D part of it, the F-35 also around $78 billion. But when now they go to the next generation air dominance fighter, the development cost is drastically reduced to only around $2 to $3 billion because of commonality of technology and components from the F-22 and F-35 platforms. So if India were to jump to 6th generation, this niche technology and the integration is definitely required. And the best example that I can quote is the MiG-27 upgrade and the Bison upgrade programs that the HAL and Indian Air Force took. It provided a valuable expertise and insight into integration of diverse avionics systems and weapons from across the globe to the private industry as well, and in particular HAL, which has certainly helped in the future platforms, and we see the kind of upgrades that have happened in the last decade. So, sir, I would differ with that view on the first regard of getting the right expertise to the Indian industry, and on the second regard is purchase of, then we'll go into the debate of whether it is the F-35 or it is the Su-57, because the F-35 has, it's a different trap altogether, getting a different system. The first Su-57 definitely, it's but beyond my pay bands. I hope that answers your questions.
Sir, just to add on.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mike, please continue. Finish.
Sixth generation capability in the 5th generation, definitely, sir. But we have begun already. We have earmarked a power plant for that platform, and that is going to be very difficult because the engine and the airframe are a arranged marriage. So, if at this juncture I change it from the GE 414 and try to go for some other higher thrust variant, it will be a lot challenging. And again, we'll be at the receiving end of changing ASQRs. So, being in uniform, I'll definitely not want to do that. However, if the industry is capable, definitely at this point in time, we can think of upgrading the AMCA to 6th gen tech.
So just to add on, sir, one of the basic problems for our 5th generation fighter is the high-powered jet engine, sir, which we need to develop ourselves, sir. And that is definitely going to take some time. Therefore, a step-by-step approach wherein we are able to first build our 5th generation, which in fact the AMCA, they are planning for a 5.5 generation capability, and thereafter then graduate onto the 6th generation would be a better approach. Please.
I'm Air Vice Marshal Ajay Shukla. Question at the lower end of the food chain, will not go too high-fi on this. This is for you, Girish. Wherever you mentioned all aspect stealth, you straightway talked of all aspects as in all, various parts of the spectrum and all. I think that is all spectrum. All aspects, I'm talking from all the sides. Now with this increased proliferation, and it is going to happen of, surveillance through the space-based assets, right now mainly in the optical domain, but perhaps time is not far when we would have, active RF-based surveillance also coming in from the space segment. I'm not too sure because the Google hasn't given me an answer on this. What about detecting these stealth aircraft, F-35s and Su-57s, etc., from top? What is the information on this? And if the answer is not that it is perhaps does not really cater for that part, I'm just wondering, is everything required to be put into the stealth domain with increasing proliferation of space-based surveillance assets inevitably going to come in?
So certainly, the space-based surveillance, I would rather divide into two aspects. The first is the optics, which is purely dependent on the satellite revisit times, which the previous speakers have referred to, our capabilities on that regard. And not only is the satellite revisit time by day, but by night also. The second is IR-based, because ICBM launches traditionally all across have been either detected through seismic detectors primarily, and very limited space-based assets have been used for ICBM launches. So beginning from that thread itself, it's very difficult for a IR sensor or any such sensor to pinpoint the location of the 5th gen, 6th gen aircraft, and not only that, provide me an input that he is now launching for a mission. I think we should keep it very simple. HUMINT is the best source of information of what is happening. Investment in that regard can definitely go up. The Ukrainians, for example, to counter drone tech from the other side, even hypersonic weapons, they took normal smartphones and integrated the oral signatures visible at the front line and tried to refine it at the other end to see what kind of platform is coming. I don't know how much of this is true, but this is what I've read about. So making a robust INT network, I would say, is the first step. Satellite revisits time definitely increase. And the third, I'd already covered in my presentation, sir, that stealth is not the end all, because stealth is in itself vulnerable. We don't know what is the capability of these platforms to even open their internal weapon bay doors in supersonic flight. And for how much time is required for those bay doors to be opened to launch a weapon. So those vulnerabilities are definitely will be exploited by adversary in actual ops. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, Shuks, another way of detecting the stealth aircraft is the ODHP radars. But once again, the null zone of that becomes a big lacuna over there. Any more questions, please? Right. I think we have come to the end of a very, very interesting session. And with that, I would like to thank once again all the three speakers for their excellent talks. And I would request all to please join in and give them a hearty round of applause.